say I missed that memo. I made it.
We have a quorum.
Oh, perfect. All right. All right, so we'll begin. Chair Marquez is possibly going to be late, so she'll join us after. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, the EBCE on May 22nd. If we can go ahead and have roll call, please, Adrian.
Yes, thank you. Albany. Berkeley. Dublin.
Here.
Emeryville. Fremont. Hayward.
Here.
Livermore.
Present.
Newark. Oakland. Piedmont. San Leandro.
Present.
Stockton.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
Union City.
Here.
Community Advisory Committee.
Here.
Pleasanton.
Present.
Alameda County. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I appreciate that. If I can ask everyone, if you're able to please rise for the pledge. And ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. I've learned to try to mute myself before having 6 Zoom calls say the pledge. So, Adrian, do we have any members of the public that would wish to do public comment at this time for items that are within the jurisdiction of the EBCE?
Yes, we do. We have one member of the public with hand raised. Claire Schoen, you're recognized for, would you like to do 2 or 3 minutes?
We'll do 3.
Okay, for 3 minutes.
Welcome.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, good. Going to this stage, my speech went away. Can you put me on second or something and I will find it?
Sure, we can come back. Adrian, do we have any other members of the public that would wish to speak? And we'll circle back around to Claire.
There are no further
Damn.
There are no further hands raised at this time.
And no written comment, correct?
There is a written comment from Claire Schoen that was distributed to board members immediately prior to the meeting.
Yeah, I can't seem to get out of this view of me. If you can get rid of me, I can print this out or something.
So, okay. Claire, if you're able to minimize, I don't know if you're on a Mac or a
I'm on a
PC.
Mac.
Okay, so if you hit the yellow button in the upper left window, it should minimize your screen. We'll still be able to hear you and you'd be able to get to your desktop.
Right, it doesn't give me a minimize. It's because I'm on, you've put me on as the main screen. I'm really sorry for this.
No worries.
I'm on Zoom.
Adrian, could you possibly unshare your screen so she clicks back to standard view?
Absolutely.
Thank you. How's that for you, Claire?
Mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So
Okay.
Adrian, will start your time now and we'll go from here.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm 2.5 minutes. My name is Claire Schoen, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to the EBCE board. I am really grateful that you are providing a real alternative to PG&E. I am happy to spend a few extra dollars to ensure that 100% of my electricity is coming exclusively from solar and wind through your Renewable 100 plan. And I'm really grateful that you are the default provider, that customers have to consciously opt out of EBCE to get their electricity from PG&E. However, my concern is about your visibility, or rather lack of visibility, in my community. I live in liberal Berkeley. My friends are all progressives who are educated, political, and care about climate change. However, practically no one I talk to about EBCE knows who you are. They think they're getting their electricity from PG&E. They are not aware that they have a choice in their energy mix for electricity. In fact, I talked to a contractor this week who installs electric heat pumps to residential households, and even he did not know what EBCE was. EBCE. I think there's several reasons why this is the case. For one, PG&E handles the billing. Along with gas charges and electricity delivery charges, we all get a bill in the mail that says PG&E all over it, and few people read through each page. Many people also pay their bills electronically and automatically and may not even see a bill. You also send out flyers on a regular but infrequent basis. And I think most people assume that this is junk mail and toss it out before reading 2 lines. So because my neighbors and friends don't even know they are getting their electricity from EBCE, very few people I've encountered have opted for the higher all solar and wind plan. I find myself giving what I call the EBCE lecture all the time to people who should be aware of all this. And when I explain how EBCE works, they are excited to learn that they can get all solar and wind without having to install solar panels or a windmill, of course. I'm not sure what the solutions are, but perhaps they have to do with better marketing. For instance, I would love to get a flyer in the mail with a big bright message saying, "Do you know your electricity comes from EBCE? What's that?" And then I would read it and say, "Oh, EBCE, that's interesting." So thank you for your consideration. Just a comment from the community that we need to know you better. That's all.
Thank you. A perfect item on the agenda coming up for this. Adrian, is there any additional public comment?
There are no further hands raised at this time.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move to item number 4, marketing and accounting services update, informational item for the EBCE board.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Imagine. I'm Annie Henderson, the Vice President of Marketing and Account Services for East Bay Community Energy, and I am excited to say I think the content we're going to present here is directly going to address those concerns that Claire expressed. We are aware that we don't have the same recognition as PG&E, a 100-year-old company, but we, you know, they're known for better and for worse, but we are looking to build up our brand and our name recognition, and we are going through an exercise where we think we are putting the tools in place to enhance that recognition, and we'll go into that a little further in our deck. I will say I've been with EBCE since November of 2017, so before we started service, and I've been working in the energy industry for about 20 years. The next slide, please. All right, so what we'll go over today, I wanted to introduce you since many of our board members are new and we're excited to have you here. Wanted to let you know about the people and the roles that we serve on the marketing and account services team. Some examples of how our team works together and also cross-functionally to implement key initiatives within the business. And then each division lead is going to come up here and tell you a little bit more about what they do and their team does. We have all but one who's able to be here in person today. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a bit about our structure. It's my chart. I don't even think I can see it from here. But what we're sort of broken into a sort of marketing area and then account services and public engagement. So account services is the call center oversight, our billing operations, which is critical. This is the bread and butter of what we do. Also key account management, and Kelly Brezovec will tell you more about what she and her team achieves. They get a lot done with a small and mighty group. We also have public engagement led by, thank you, Alex DiGiorgio, who will speak to you today. And they are responsible for working with our community advisory committee, a lot of stakeholder engagement. They facilitate a monthly meeting with your local staff who lead on your city or county's sustainability efforts, as well as new territory inclusion. So he has been working very closely, and Kate Katie, his other member of his team on bringing in Stockton and other members of San Joaquin County. We have a relatively new head of brand who joined us in October, Teresa McDermott. She will also come up to speak. And this is part of the brand evolution. As we have now been around for about 5 years, we have seen that we have created some brand awareness unaided, around 22%. So still relatively low. But we think that we have great potential to sort of be an influencer in the marketplace. And going from default enrollment, where people just become our customers, to a position of where we're asking people to make choices, means that we need to position ourselves a little differently in the minds of those ratepayers, customers, constituents that we work with. We also have our energy services marketing. That is led by Dan Lieberman, who, when he also started 5 years ago, he was in charge of a whole bunch of these blue items. And then as we've grown and had more to do, Dan has specialized and zeroed in with his team on our social media, our events and outreach, as well as it was mentioned, you get once a year, maybe something in the mail, maybe twice a year from EBCE. Those are our compliance communications. Those are required by the state, different agencies of the state that we communicate with our customers. But there's a lot more that goes into all of our energy services marketing, specifically around rate communications. And then we have our programs marketing team led by Lori Dines. And this is, well, I think Lori's now almost been here 2 years. Feels like it went by fast. And that is really focused on, as we got on our feet and we're providing service to our customers, we showed the proof of concept that we could deliver green power at a discount to PG&E. Programs, local programs, our local development programs have come out, and we need to get customers' attention on that. So that is primarily our lead generation engine, as well as a lot of customer education, because before someone is ready to make that decision, they need to have a better understanding. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick shot. You can go to our website, start to recognize our faces a little. You can also dig into our bios of our rather large and growing team. Next slide, please. And I think the next slides are going to be about, I wanted to sort of give some examples about, I said a lot of things that our team does. Well, what does that sort of result in? What actually happens on the team? So one example is what we call initial enrollment. So for most of our jurisdictions, this started in 2018, but we then expanded to Newark, Pleasanton, and Tracy, and we look forward to expanding into Stockton as well. So that starts off really with our public engagement team, responding to jurisdictions that have expressed interest. And then we provide that support. They need to do 2 readings of the ordinance. For many of you, this might have happened back in 2015, 2016. So it may not sound familiar, but this is an ongoing process, and you can appreciate that, it takes a lot to inform the staffs who then have to bring it to their councils. And so we have a large role there, of course. Then we have the planning. So there is some work that we have to do with the Public Utilities Commission to let them know that we intend to serve these new communities. We begin understanding the local marketing channels. So for example, Dan and Alex went out and met with a number of CBOs in Stockton to talk to them about how do we best get the word out to those communities, as well as understanding who are the primary newspapers, what do people read, where do they get their news from? And then account services has the lift of receiving all this customer data from PG&E, and then making sure those customers get transitioned onto our service and that there are no billing issues in that process. So that really takes us over into enrollment. We have for our initial service enrollment, as well as our first expansion to Newark, Pleasanton, and Tracy, and now to Stockton, we will have a robust marketing, education, and outreach program. So that includes being there in the community with in-person events. Unfortunately, we had to really ratchet that back for Newark, Pleasanton, and Tracy, because we did that in 2020 or 2021?
2021.
2021, so April 2021. So we were still in that uncertain period where there weren't a whole lot of public events happening, but we have already identified several in Stockton, And we continue to do that kind of work as well throughout our existing service territory, and we have for the last 5 years. And then we have this transition again of the customers over into our system and our billing. When service starts, we do have some compliance notifications that we sent out. We have to send 2 before start of service and then 2 at the start of service. And this notifies individuals of their rights, both to opt up to a Renewable 100 or opt out and stay with PG&E. And then we also have to prep our call center, let them know that we're serving these new customers and troubleshoot any issues that might come up. Maybe we have some new agricultural rates in Stockton that we haven't served previously, those kind of issues. And then ongoing public engagement helps to bring new members onto our board as well as onto our community advisory committee. And that group that I said, the local staff, we call them our Muni pals. So you might hear that again. And then marketing, we incorporate this new service territory into our campaigns and make sure that we are incorporating them into things like our what we internally call our hyper local sponsorships. So this is 3 times a year that we give out awards up to $2,500 to local nonprofits. So for example, it might be a robotics team, or it could be people that are giving away sort of educational materials about renewable energy directly to the schools, but making sure that that new service area is incorporated into that. And then also reaching out to local key accounts, so sort of our largest customers in that new service territory. So I think I have one more example, and I may try to be more brief because I've got a lot of slides. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to really point to this, I'll say, service that we provide as staff to our member cities. So we have a policy that twice a year, our board will welcome certain requests for local jurisdictions to opt their entire customer base to a different product. So far, that has only been going from our discounted product to our fully renewable product. But we have done this successfully a number of times now. And so that starts with, again, public engagement, speaking with local staff, or maybe getting the request from our board director. Hey, can you do an analysis to tell me what would it cost an individual customer to do this? Of course, Hayward has done this, Emeryville has done this. And then that approval system, again, it gets voted on at the local level, then it's brought to our board for official approval because it is a change of rate. So that needs to be approved by the board. We have a self-imposed notification compliance, which is 2 customer notices. And then we do an outreach campaign as well around that. And then on the product change side, that has to, that affects the billing. So then our account services is overseeing and implementing that. And then ongoing, we make sure that this is applied to new customers that begin service. So you can see it's a very broad set of activities that are associated with the marketing and account services team. And I think the next slide I'll be handing off to Alex DeGiorgio to talk about public engagement.
Thank you, Annie. Good afternoon, everyone. Alex DeGiorgio, Public Engagement Manager. I am part of a team of 2. So my colleague, Kate Caddy, is also on our team. And the 2 of us are primarily responsible for what I think what boils down to local government relations and community affairs. So Annie covered a bit of this already. Oh, and I should mention that I've been with the agency for it'll be 4 years next month. And before that, I was with Marin Clean Energy for about 7 years, doing very similar work. And I even had the honor of being on the steering committee that got to form this agency. So it's been really fun to watch the evolution go from, just the twinkle in the eye of some elected officials to sitting here with you now. So our team, we, as Annie mentioned, we engage with your local staff on a regular basis. So we have a monthly meeting with all of the staff from all of the jurisdictions that we serve. But, and those are who we lovingly refer to our muni pals, because saying municipals over and over again just didn't work as well, especially for a team that engages in marketing and such. But beyond that monthly meeting with all of our jurisdictions, on a daily basis, we're engaged with folks from your jurisdictions. It may vary from city to county with department that we deal with most regularly, but we have dedicated staff with whom we coordinate on a regular basis. This will often be an environmental manager or someone in the public works department. And they coordinate with us for all the things that the city may need, whether it comes to the municipal accounts or whether it comes to a default enrollment. Those are the folks that we engage with every day. In addition to that kind of like bread and butter local government relations, as Annie mentioned, we also manage coordination with the Community Advisory Committee, as well as we liaise with your board as well for specific items such as default enrollments, for example. Also for interdepartmental support for our programs and policy teams, Kate and I would likely be the ones who might reach out to you or your colleagues on your council for like a letter of support, for example, for a program that we're doing or for a federal grant that our programs team is seeking around electric vehicle charging stations and that sort of thing. And then also, new community inclusion. So when a new jurisdiction or a jurisdiction that's not yet served by a community choice agency wants to learn more about it, they'll often reach out to us. And those conversations can take a lot of shapes and forms. Usually what we're trying to do is just encourage them to explore community choice energy generally. And then if it seems like the best arrangement would be for them to pursue membership with our agency, then there's a process in place for doing that. I'd be happy to answer questions about it if there are any. Beyond that, we also have like special engagement, as you see there at the bottom. This would come up, for example, in engaging with Office of Emergency Services, doing during PG&E power shutoffs, planned or unplanned. We'll often engage with the county sheriff and Office of Emergency Services staff from each jurisdiction in those situations as well. Plus, we're also doing focused outreach to the commercial and industrial customers that we serve, particularly those that we'd like to woo back to our service if they've opted out. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Thanks. So just to focus very briefly on one key activity, that would be the expansion of EV service area and the inclusion of new jurisdictions. The most recent example is the prominent city of Stockton, which joined our agency. Usually there's a 1-year waiting period from the time a jurisdiction joins to when we begin service, and that waiting period is actually a requirement that's imposed by the Public Utilities Commission, so it's not an EBCE policy. However, with Stockton, that's been extended a bit into January 2025. So we are now we're working with the city staff, and some community-based organizations to make sure that we put together the most robust outreach plan that we can have for when service starts. I'd be happy to answer questions about that too. In the meantime, we have other jurisdictions that are kind of looking to see what might be available to them in terms of community choice energy service, such as the neighboring city of Lathrop. The city of Lathrop has seen now that Tracy and Stockton both join our agency, and so they're considering making a similar decision. But that will be up to their council to request that and then our board to approve that. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I mentioned, we are also trying to court back some of the customers that may have opted out. We want to make sure that especially the commercial industrial customers, know that there is a more cost-effective option in town, and so this is something that we use as a kind of a way to reach folks, is to remind them that there's a discount with EBC's default service, depending on what jurisdiction you're in. And or there's an option for cost-effective 100% renewable energy. So whichever our C&I customers prefer, we have an option for them, and we're happy, as Annie mentioned, just like we do for the cities, for the really large customers, our team will run an analysis to see what the savings would be if they're on our Bright Choice option, or what the cost premium would be if they go for the renewable 100 option, just so that they can make a fully informed decision. And next slide, please. Thanks. So yeah, about half our cities now are by default on our 100% renewable option. I know it might be a little bit hard to read that chart there, but it is a list of the default enrollment for each city. And again, this is something that is available to any of our jurisdictions, It does require a 6-month runway. So there are 2 times a year with like basically 2 deadlines by which we ask our jurisdictions to make this decision, by an action of their board or of their council, and then 6 months later we'll implement it. So right now the March deadline has passed. We didn't have any jurisdictions that indicated they wanted to default to Renewable 100. We'll see in October if that changes. I think I'll stop there. If there are any questions, I'd be able to take them now or maybe after others have presented. Questions?
No hands raised.
Okay, great. Sure. Kelly.
Just had a quick question. In terms of public engagement, are you tracking the various methods in terms of how you're reaching out to customers and tracking the performance of those various methods? I mean, I'm thinking email versus snail mail versus some sort of other digital ad or social media.
Yes, I think those metrics and that feedback will be coming within the programs marketing and general services marketing component of our presentation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And so now we'll start. Kelly Brezovec will take over for account services if we could share her slides. And Kelly, leave it to you for your intro.
Great. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see so many new faces on our board right now. So hi, I'm Kelly Brezovec. I'm the Director of Account Services. I've been with East Bay Community Energy since right around when we started service to our residential customers in November of 2018. On my team, we have, and I've been in the energy industry for about 15 years. On my team, I have Gabrielle Sotsu, who is currently on maternity leave. She's been with our agency since late 2019. She's our customer care analyst. Also, and then I have 3 newer team members who just started this within the past 6 months. We have Eleanor Smith, our Connected Communities Manager, coming to us most recently from PG&E. We have Alvin Lin, who's our Account Services Analyst. He was formerly a civil engineer and is now delving into data. And we have Cody Vaughn, who is coming to us from working in the nonprofit space as our customer care coordinator. So account services, as Annie mentioned earlier, we cover quite a few different aspects and touch the customer in many different ways, starting with our coordination with SMUD, that's the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. I should have spelled that out. I forgot that we had so many new folks here. They are what we call our back office provider. They handle our the billing logistics for EBCE, those communications that go back and forth between PG&E and SMUD that end up with the bill being printed with our charges on it and then taking care of the other customer transactions. SMUD is also our customer care agency. They're the customer service representatives. One of the things that Annie mentioned was sort of that progress of trying to switch a city over from, let's say, Bright Choice to Renewable 100. That's just one opportunity where you could see something go wrong. We're sending out 30,000 bills every day. So lots of opportunities for errors, lots of opportunities for things to go right as well. We also develop those requirements for customer interactions via our web forms and also our interactive response messages. That's if someone wants to call in to, let's say, choose Renewable 100, how do they do that? They can do that via our web form, and they can also do that IVR. We have those forms and the interactive voice response messages available currently in Spanish and English. We're also implementing our rate changes, including one coming up next month. We are managing our enhancements for service changes, things like updating those value propositions that we're going to be talking about at the upcoming board meetings. You know, we have had, you know, Bright Choice has been at 1.5% below PG, and then it was at 1%, and now it's at 3% below PG&E. And those things don't happen just because we say they need to happen. They happen after you voted on them, and then we have to implement those changes. We're also billing our customers with some great special discounts that Eleanor is managing, like EBCE solar discount and our new percentage of income payment plan. These are programs that we're able to offer in tandem with PG&E. We're also, as Alex mentioned, this is a partnership between our two teams to develop and develop relationships and handle inquiries. Alvin, who I mentioned earlier, is managing a lot of those inquiries that are coming in from our commercial and industrial customers. He's running those analyses and looking to see what is the best choice for our customer, be it Renewable 100 or Bright Choice. And we're also responding to those general EBCE inquiries. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so I touched on the customer service representatives, and Cody handles the back and forth with our customer service representatives if they have extra questions, or if we're coming on the program and he'll write up and send that information over to the CSR team. The CSRs, though, they're great. I've just pulled 3 snippets of these are customers that had an interaction with one of our customer service representatives and then took the time to send an email back saying thank you. I'm not going to bore everyone with rereading this. You have all of this information, but the takeaways here are that these customer service representatives are knowledgeable, they're patient, and they're very professional. They're taking the time to explain bills, especially very confusing, let's say, net energy metering bills, in a way that our customers can understand it. So if a customer does take the time to call in with questions, let's say they do see East Bay Community Energy on their bill for the first time, even if we've been serving them since 2018, they're going to have a great experience. And oftentimes these CSRs can take a customer who's confused and who wants to get out of our service, and they can retain the customer through education. Let's go on to the next slide. All right, so here's just some key activities that our team has managed over the past fiscal year. We've talked a little bit about our commercial and industrial customers. These are non-residential or business customers. We had one large industrial customer that was being served by Direct Access. We could think of Direct Access as a competitor to East Bay Community Energy. And we brought them back into our service just a couple of months ago. We've also began offering our net energy metering, that's our solar customers. We're offering them starting this month, essentially, a new true up timing option. That's all based on customer input. We had customers that were requesting an annual true up method, and we were able to implement that for them this year. We have updated our value proposition, as I mentioned, going from 1% to 3% for Bright Choice, and provided bill credits, really valuable $50 bill credits to our Care and Farah customers last fall. And I mentioned those PG&E rate changes. They changed rates 4 times last year. And in order to maintain our value proposition, we need to update our rates every time PG&E updates theirs, so that we guarantee that our customers are receiving the benefits, the financial benefits that we say that they're going to receive. On the payment assistance front, we have enrolled all of our eligible customers into a lottery and performed that lottery for the new percent income payment plan. We reached program capacity in less than 1 month. I think some of our the IOUs in the area, the investor and utilities, they're still working on enrolling all of their customers, and we reached full capacity almost immediately. We also validated the second round of the California Arrearage Payment Program, that's CAP. That was a statewide program that the governor had signed into law that helped customers with utility bill debt due to the COVID pandemic. That last amount was applied to customer bills this past February. And on the team front this past year, we worked with SMUD to hire some CSRs that live in our future service territory in Stockton. So we have 2 Stockton-based customer service reps that are going to be taking calls for our customers very soon. And we've also added, as I mentioned, 3 new team members. Let's go to the next slide. So this one's just our look ahead. This is my final slide here, and then we'll move on. Just hot topics that we'll be looking at for this next fiscal year. We'll be working on implementing real-time pricing rates So real-time pricing, today you already know what the rate is that you'll be paying on your energy bill. But energy doesn't actually work that way. It sort of is more like when you go to the gas station, you know, how that can change every day. So that's more like what energy prices look like. And so we'll be working on implementing some versions of those for some pilot programs. As Alex said, we're working together to get some customers back from PG&E and direct access. We'll be analyzing how our special discount programs are helping our customers. There's the arrearage management plan that customers have been on now for a couple of years. How are customers doing on that program? That's one that provides customers with debt write-offs every month that they successfully pay their bill in full. How is that going? Are customers actually seeing those savings? Are customers falling off of those savings because they missed those payments? We're going to take that learning and see how we can best help our customers going forward. And then also looking at additional languages for our web form transactions. If a customer doesn't call to speak to a customer service representative, they're more likely to use our web forms. So how can we provide that to our customers in even more languages so that folks can read that information? It can be kind of confusing. What does it mean to choose Bright Choice or PG&E or EBCE? We want to make sure that that's in languages that folks are most comfortable communicating in. And then also partnering with our local programs team to both keep our customer service representatives informed on any programs that are coming out, and also working with them on a new commercial energy efficiency offering. And I'm sure there's other things we'll be doing next year. Those are just some highlights. I'm ready to take any questions.
Well, I'll just add one thing for those that are perhaps new to the board, or to highlight this nuance. So the California Public Utilities Commission regulates the investor-owned utilities, and they require that the investment-owned utilities implement certain rate programs. Those are optional for the most part for community choice aggregators like East Bay Community Energy to participate in, but we have pretty much across the board participated in every single one in order to be a leader, to learn about the process, to influence what the final program is going to look like, and also to lend our expertise. And Kelly has been instrumental in that. And in fact, she is the chair of the billing operations committee for our industry group called CalCCA. But all those things, real-time pricing, PIP, these are things that are coming out of the California Public Utilities Commission as they try to address sort of, you know, the I was going to say the grid crisis, but it is a bit of that. Right?
Grid stability.
Grid stability, thank you. And so we are participating in those things so that we can influence. And then it looks like there's a number of questions.
Yeah. I don't know who had their hand up first.
I think it was Anne Olivia Aldred.
Great.
So thank you so much for this presentation. It's really amazing to see the depth and breadth of work that is happening right now. It really is very exciting, and the presentation was fantastic. Can you explain a little bit more about the logic behind doing if I understood this correctly, we're going to be switching our residential programs to charging people for like real-time pricing. Is that going to be for our residential customers? And
sorry, I'll let you finish your question. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just hoping to clarify that. If you could expand on that a little bit, it would be helpful to hear about that. And then I may have some follow-up questions if I did understand that correctly.
Yeah, sure. So I don't expect that we will participate in real-time pricing at the residential level. We're looking at participating at the large commercial. For our large commercial customers, there may be some opportunities for residential customers to participate with a new vehicle to grid integration pilot. But I don't anticipate EBCE participating for our residential customers. And it would be at this time, all of those sort of pilot rates would all be voluntary for the customer.
To be clear, the real-time pricing or RTP pricing pilot is only available to 5,000 customers across the entirety of PG&E service territory. So this is in no way a default program for
Right.
customers.
That is an answer I am relieved to hear. Okay,
So are we.
that is going to be really confusing and hard for people. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. I
definitely.
appreciate it. It makes much more sense on that level.
Great, thank
Kashef, did you have a question as well?
I do. Yeah, just thank you for the presentation and overview. It was helpful. I'm just wondering on the analysis side of it, where you were talking about different payment plans and the ability of customers to stay up to date on their payments. Is that done across the board, or are you being selective in terms of which, sort of cherry picking some customers? And are you giving, how is that reported out?
Yeah, sure. That's the arrearage management plan that I think you're referring to, that helps customers with past due balances. That's a program that is largely administered by PG&E because it does take a look at the entirety of the debt that the customer has with the utility, and then allows the customer to sort of have their debt written off as they make payments in full. Now, that doesn't start until after the customer has enrolled in the program, and the customer is not automatically enrolled in that program. There are also some other caveats, like the customer needs to be on a qualified low income program, and they also have to have a certain amount of debt already built up on their bill in order to receive those benefits. PG&E does do regular outreach to get customers to enroll, to encourage eligible customers to enroll. And EBCE has done some encouragement, via targeted messaging to encourage our customers to participate as well. It's a tricky one to message because in order for a customer to really benefit from the program, they've built up a certain amount of debt, but now they need to have the means to pay their bill in full, their regular PG&E and EBCE bill in full. And so it's really, I think, beneficial for those customers that maybe had a job change and now are once again employed. So it's not a great fit for like an auto enrollment because we don't know the customer's situation. Some early numbers that I looked at a year ago showed that there are customers that are continuing this full 12 months on the program. And we need to take a look at that in even greater detail.
And I'll just note that if there is interest, we can do a more detailed report out of these various programs at the Marketing Regulatory Legislative Subcommittee meeting, which is in mid-June.
Okay, I guess, Kelly, my question more specifically was just, for customers that are enrolled in that program, what is the performance on that? But it sounds like there'll be a separate meeting in mid-June and probably dive into the data a little.
Yep, that's on our list. Yes, thanks.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, Director Gonzalez, you also have a question.
Trying to understand a little bit about the large industrial customers.
Yeah.
Made reference to we had a customer leave and now working to attract the customer back. Trying to understand the competitive advantage or maybe just the story. Why is it that a customer like that would leave? What is it that would bring the customer back? To understand the dynamics of that market demand.
Yeah. How much time do you have?
1 minute.
Okay, I can do this. All right, so there was this program called Direct Access, and that allowed customers to, like they do with EBCE, purchase exclusively their generation through a third party. In this case, the third party is a for-profit entity that's able to sell them just the commodity of electricity, not the delivery. For a number of years in the 90s and prior, this was a great there was great financial benefit in doing this because those rates were super low. Then Enron happened, and a lot of customers got kicked off of what we call direct access. After that, PG&E and the state allowed some number of customers to stay on direct access, and things were okay. Things were kind of flat for a little while. No new ins and outs on direct access. Then in 2010, PG&E, well, the state, the CPUC said, we're going to allow some customers to go back onto this direct access program. It's going to be a limited access only, a lottery system to get in based on demand or based on loads, based on gigawatt hours per investor and utility. It's still seen as a great financial benefit, and maybe it can be. But since the last time direct access came around, there's now this thing called the PCIA, the Power Charge Indifference Adjustment. That wasn't an issue back in the 90s, and it is today. So in general, when you've got a product like Bright Choice, where you can automatically, you know, you're going to save now 3% compared to PG&E, I think it can be harder for those third parties to match the savings of Bright Choice. And also, we have a Renewable 100 program. Product service plan, right? If you have an environmental goal, a sustainability goal, ESG for your business, you might not want to go with a direct access provider because typically their product mix is not nearly as clean as something like a Bright Choice or a 100.
Perfect. And then the second question really goes to that power indifference adjustment charge thing, whatever that thing is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just a charge, right?
Sure.
And everybody has to pay that.
Yes.
So how is it that we, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, can we guarantee that you pay less after considering that indifference charge?
Yeah, we can. So we know what the PCIA or Power Charge Indifference Adjustment, we know what that is going to be. It's published on the tariffs, the rate sheets, the rate schedules that PG&E puts out. We know what those are. And so when we calculate our rates, inclusive of that fee. So we know that that's an adder for our customers, and we're able to include that in our discount. So it's not quite as simple as like A minus 3% equals B. There's some other stuff in there to make sure that we're actually giving the customers the full discount.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, a question in the room? Yes, go ahead. All right, so we have there. Is that this thing?
Yeah, it's just.
Sure, go ahead. Kelly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great, thanks. I just wanted to ask, will you do an individual analysis of someone's bill? Because I appreciate the work you're doing, constantly trying to sort of see how customers are doing and get feedback. So I was just thinking, just personally, that there's the solar bill we pay, and then there's the PG&E and the EBC, and then there's a true up, and all those numbers have gone like way up in the last year and a half or so. So just sort of trying to understand, will you do that individually for customers if they think there's an issue?
Like a residential customer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so our those customer service representatives that I just put up all those glowing remarks about, they're doing that kind of stuff all the time.
Okay, and they'll look back at you.
And that our call center's open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other hands raised?
But there, no further interest.
All right, I'll move us along to brand with Teresa McDermott.
Thank you. Nice to be here with all of you. You can just go to the slides, Adrian, it'd be great. Go to my first slide. I'm Teresa McDermott. I've been with the agency for about 8 months. And so that means that the discipline of brand has been formally a thing at the agency for about 8 months. They obviously did a lot of work before I joined to kind of understand the drive to bring brand in as a discipline. And so it's exciting now to kind of be picking up the stuff that was done before I joined and start really kind of bringing it to life. So what I'm talking, a lot of the things I'm talking about are kind of doing them for the first time here at the agency. And I should just say, prior to joining EBCE, I actually don't come with an energy background, and I was told that was a positive thing because we are trying to kind of build a brand that is more kind of broad and appeal outside of like energy nerd land and stuff. So, so I have a lot of years of marketing and operations and brand experience in B2B companies and consumer companies. And I'm just delighted to be here and working with this group now. And I've learned so much from many of you who are on the line right now already, so thank you. So the way we're thinking about brand at EBCE is kind of, there's sort of three interlocking parts to it. There's the strategy, there's articulating and enabling our strategy. So kind of taking what we know to be true and formalizing that and building out the guidelines and aligning our business strategy with our brand strategy so we can pull it through everything we're doing and show up in market as kind of a consistent force and moving in the direction we want to move. There is the execution, so doing just that, helping all my colleagues translate our brand strategy into their work. So working with HR, for instance, and understanding what brand means vis-a-vis HR and how we articulate our values and things like that, and working with my colleagues here to make sure that our campaigns are all speaking with the same voice and driving content creation is in line with what we want to portray with our brand. And then there's the kind of research and insights, analyzing and aligning and kind of constantly taking the temperature and making sure that we're actually hitting the mark and being able to do what we say we want to do and adjusting and tweaking to go along. And it's a virtuous circle, we hope. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of examples of what I mean by strategy and execution next. So you can go on to the next slide. Thanks, Adrienne. So many of you on the line have been involved already, and all of you have heard about the fact that we are contemplating a name change as part of a larger brand repositioning of the agency. We, as Nick has talked about, Andy's talked about, I've talked about with this group, we've come to realize that as we've been successful, we've proven the concept of being able to develop cleaner power at a lower price. We want to couple that, we want to marry that with now speaking more directly to consumers and getting them excited and engaged and meeting Claire's mandate, right? That her neighbors know who we are and know how to get engaged and know how to, you know the benefit that we're providing and know how they can kind of accelerate their journey on like a clean energy journey. So we want to be an agency that's actively facilitating that. So we think part of that is kind of changing our visual and verbal identity. And part of that could be a name change. So we've gone through this process, which we will be talking about in more depth, the outputs of that process at the upcoming MRL meeting, at the upcoming ExecCom. But I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of make sure everybody knows that this has been a thoughtful and comprehensive process that we've gone through. And as I say, we'll talk about the outputs of it at later meetings. But just to say that we landed on our brand themes. We kind of looked at the competition vis-a-vis names, not the competition, but the set of people that we're in, right? We're in a big acronym area with, we're EBCE, there's MCE, there's PG&E, there's SCE, right? We did research, and that research told us that people don't really care for acronym names, especially when they don't know what they mean. So we knew that, you know, we want to be this agency that appeals to consumers and speaks to them more directly. We want to distinguish ourselves, and our consumers are telling us that acronyms don't help them. They don't like those as names. So we set some criteria up for thinking about names. We did ground that criteria knowing that whatever name we come up with, it is going to be coupled with community energy. So we're not going to walk away completely at all from the idea of community energy. We just want to have a brand name that is a little bit more evocative for us. And you can go to the next slide. And so as we went through this process, when it came to ideating actual names, we've started, this funnel just describes it. I won't go into depth, but let me just say, we looked at a lot of names and across a lot of categories. And many of them, unfortunately, were knocked out because of trademark availability, or they're just too much kind of noise in the space. Many of them were knocked out because they were off strategy. And we're down here at the pointy end of our funnel right now, where we have, working with our ad hoc committees of the CAC and the board who have helped us along and have given us guidance along the way, we have come down to a very short list of names that are both available to us from a trademark and linguistic and cultural standpoint. We want to make sure the name doesn't mean anything unintended in a different language, and interesting and on strategy and something that we think can take us forward. So when we meet at our next meetings, the ExecCom and MRL will actually be sharing a recommended name with you. You can go to the next slide, Adrian. I guess I should have put this up. This is describing that timeline I'm talking about. We are hoping to bring a name to you to vote on at the June board meeting. And we are aware that we are going from kind of talking about this publicly in a more specific way for the first time now. We want to continue to talk more and more specifically, so by the time we get to June, everybody feels really good about it and understands why we think this is the right name. And has had any questions they might have answered about it. So we will share, we have a few more checks kind of to do with, availability and things like that. We want to make sure all of our kind of legal and ownership rights to it are buttoned up before we actually share recommended names publicly. We're doing that now, but we intend to share the name and answer kind of questions specifically about it in ExecCom, also in MRL, CAC if they want us to, and then finally at the board meeting. So I encourage everybody to take part in those meetings if you'd like to hear more about specifically about a recommended new name. So that's like a very vivid example of when we say it's like brand strategy, how that comes to life. It's in something like this. You can go to the next slide. And the name is just kind of like the pointing into the spirit of a larger strategy. We would be also evolving the visual identity, so logo, look and feel, colors, things like that, but also our messaging and how we talk about ourselves, the things we focus on. And so rolling that out is a huge effort. And so when we talk about kind of like highlights for next year, this is pretty much it, finalizing a name and a brand strategy and brand identity, and rolling that out across the business is what brand will be leading, but everybody in the agency will be participating in. So we're in this phase of planning and preparing now. We will be, once we have all our approvals, we'll be doing stakeholder enablement, so working with our Muni pals, working with our sponsored entities, working with our program partners, working with the board to make sure that everybody is able and aware to kind of help represent this publicly, and that we are ready to go to the public and not confuse people, but bring people along. And then we expect there'll be a period of like soft launch where we start putting it out there, but we don't kind of go big with it. We'd be ready to go big after a period of time, and then we would eventually transition to a steady state. These dates are kind of all tentative. They're going to depend on, constant measuring. We're not going to leave any customers behind. We're not going to leave anybody behind, because we think this is going to be something that's going to take us from the level of awareness we have now and just build. And so we're going to do this in a measured and kind of thoughtful way to make sure we bring everybody along. And I'm sure you'll be seeing much more of me about these things over the coming weeks and months, but I will stop there and answer any questions that we have.
Nice, just a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
You were saying people don't like acronyms, and I can see like EBCE is just an acronym you have to remember, and it's hard to say. But what about acronyms that are kind of, that mean something like BART or Metro, that are words that people easily say? Did you look at that?
Yes, and basically what it boils down to is like, do people know what's behind it or not, right? So like people understand what NASA is. People understand, like, I guess if you're local, you understand what BART is.
Yeah.
Yes, we've looked at acronyms, but we spent a lot of time kind of trying to come up with an acronym that that was one of in a wide part of the that was one of the avenues we did look at, like trying to make a word or a read through of that would make sense, but we didn't really come up with anything that was great, and so yeah, we're not far from that space, to be honest with you, where we landed, but generally speaking, like, not just us, it's not us that people don't like our acronym. Consumers don't like acronyms, right? So it's like, if you don't know what it means, even if you can say it, like it still leaves people feeling kind of cold. But take your point, yeah.
All right, thank you. Oh, and then the one thing, when you come to the committees and the front of our meeting, are you giving several options for, you'll have like a preferred word or name or something, I assume, and then a few others that you're gonna be presenting?
Well, our plan at this point, we have definitely a preferred option. And we've spent a great deal of time with the support of the ad hoc committees of the board and the CAC, kind of going through names and going through options. We do have we kind of have a second choice, but I would say it's a distant second choice, and there is a great deal of consensus and unanimity around the preferred choice. And so our intention at this moment is to bring you the preferred choice, but we are preparing a backup as well. But we're not in I think if we had been in a place where we had two options that both felt, gosh, these are really good, we can't decide, we would bring it to you for a vote. But it does feel as if, in the feedback we've had, is we have a very, very strong contender, and we have one that, okay, we could fall back on. And
I look forward to it.
good, thank you. I do too. I can't wait to move it along.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry.
It's less a question as much as a comment, and I think that pretty much, I think that almost any brand can take a life of its own if you go and you advertise and you drive it. Not to diminish what we're doing, but so let's just pick one and let's move forward. Let's brand it. Let's associate words and feelings and cut colors and pictures with it. Because I think that I've seen over the years many brands. We just heard acronyms are a bad thing, yet everybody knows BART in the Bay Area. There's feelings and perceptions associated with BART. But I will say this: EBCE doesn't roll off the tongue, and so I don't like that particular acronym. So I'm glad that we're going to a name, a word, something that just evokes good feelings.
Well, you're singing from my songbook, so I appreciate you saying that. Any other questions?
There are no further hands raised.
All right, thank you. I look forward to seeing you all at the ExecCom. And for those of you that are very eager to see the name, the public meeting documents will be posted on Friday, June 2nd, with the name proposal to be discussed at the executive committee on June 7th. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dan Lieberman to talk about our energy services marketing.
All right, thanks everyone. I'm Dan Lieberman, Marketing Director at EBCE, and I joined EBCE at the beginning of 2018 before launch. I've been in the renewable energy business for 25 years. I've got a great team at EBCE. Sophie Hecht, who's over here, does our mostly content marketing for us. And then not here today on PTO is Juan Cortez, and he is the outreach coordinator who joined as an undergraduate intern back in 2020, right before the pandemic. I think if you jump to the slides, this is an overview of the content that I'll address, but these are the sort of big picture pieces of the work that our team does, with the objective of making sure that every person in Berkeley knows that they are on Renewable 100. I'll talk a little bit about how we go about trying to inform customers about our service and their specific options. So next slide. This is a high level slide on the different pieces of the general awareness marketing that we do. Some of this you're probably already familiar with. We maintain a website, ebce.org. It's in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese, and it contains a lot of information. We're updating this website just about every day with new information about public meetings, events we're attending, new programs. It has some detailed functionality like enrolling in programs, the programs that have been mentioned before, like AMP, or some, if you want to borrow an induction cooktop, you're going to do that on, you can go onto our website and do that. So it's evolving in terms of its functionality. And we are always trying to accommodate people who speak different languages and likely moving to a model where we have more like a Google language tool where you can pull down and select your language of choice and you can see the site in any language. We do social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I encourage all of you board members particularly to follow us. We follow you. Our handle is @poweredbyEBCE. There's tons of great content. We focused lately on more video content, that sort of thing. And we're constantly monitoring metrics to make sure that those, posts are performing well and that we're doing the things that customers and viewers appreciate. We do a lot of paid advertising. We do digital display ad. We use the Agency Bay Area News Group to place digital display. We're always doing digital display. We have ads running on Comcast every month, video ads. We run print in a few different local publications. We advertise on social. I put a little flag there saying this month on KQED, we led a campaign with other Bay Area CCAs to create a landing page, which is baycommunityenergy.org. We built that site ourselves. And now we're doing about $10,000 this month in underwriting. So you'll hear on KQED this month, Morning Edition is brought to you by, and then it'll say your local energy provider, and it'll announce that landing page and customers can go and find their CCA. So we're doing a little bit more creative. It's hard for us to advertise sometimes on broadcast media because we really want to target people in the East Bay in our service area. And so it's nice to do this sort of larger cooperative thing where then the listeners can find their local CCA. We also do a lot of more localized advertising when there's an event happening. So for example, when Hayward moved service to Renewable 100 or Emeryville, we did advertising in the Eville Eye. We did Berkeley side. We did Hayward Daily, Fremont Argus. We really zone in on the customers who need to know the info, and we'll advertise there locally. And we also do next door, for better or for worse. We throw everything up there. We can turn off comments if it gets too crazy. We do print collateral, brochures that we're handing out at events, one-pagers on programs. All of the notification letters that have been discussed when we roll out to Stockton, when we change service in a city, we do notification letters and emails to those customers. We have a number of promotional videos. Question about net energy metering came up. I would highly recommend that people take a look at our ebce.org/nem website. We have a good explainer videos. And then we do some co-branded videos when we can, like we have one with the Oakland Roots who we sponsor. I'll have a little more info about that, but it's great to sort of get an influencer on the video and just get people familiar with the brand. And then of course swag. If you guys know Nick Chassett, he loves a nice hat. Get the brand out there. We're trying to be very brand forward. So I'm sure when we pick our new brands that we will be out there with a whole new portfolio of great branded swag for staff, for board members, and especially when we're at events handing out, And the next slide. So this is about outreach. We do a lot of events outreach. Of course, this has had to evolve during the pandemic. We were doing 50 events a year before the pandemic, and then things really, as you all know, things really sort of crashed and imploded. And we didn't do any events hardly at all for a couple of years there, and now it's really picking up now. I've listed some of the main events that we sponsor and attend. The Alameda County Fair, Solano Stroll that goes through Albany and Berkeley, Dublin St. Patrick's Day. We have Juneteenth coming up, and we sponsored the Hayward event. Bike to Work Day, which was last week. We had a booth out at Snow Park. Our logo is on all the bags. They give away bags out throughout the East Bay. Thousands of these sort of branded bags. Our logo is on there. We got San Leandro Cherry Festival, the Bill Pickett Rodeo, which is just outside of Hayward. And that's just a few. We're during when the sun's out, we're at 1 to 2 events a week. We're doing every Roots game, Oakland Roots game. And so we're out there quite a bit. If there are events in your area that you don't see us there, let us know, because we're always trying to find, we'll sponsor financially and have a booth there. We do local sponsorships. I'll save comments because I have a separate slide about that. And then we do an info packet every month, like a social media toolkit that we give to a long list of local CEOs that we've collected. Each city, the folks who are on that Muni Pals group that Alex mentioned, they get an email with some prepackaged social about EBCE. And also every Chamber of Commerce, we're a member of every chamber, and they get info also every month from us with some energy related social media content, graphics for newsletters, that sort of thing. So that helps us get our word out through these partners that are very engaged in the community. So next slide is about outbound. So that's a lot of that stuff was inbound, customers sort of coming to us, coming to our website. We do a lot of outbound communication as well. We actually run 2 separate newsletters. One is just general content, and it's every month, and it's saying what's happening, where, what are the big changes at EBCE, what are events we're attending, alerting people that it's summer rates, and so they need to start thinking about their energy usage a little differently. And then we have the CEO's Desk, which is more of a blog format newsletter. It comes out about every couple months. And it's way detailed. Like if you want a deep dive about things happening at EBCE, then you should sign up for that. Both of these are newsletters that you have to proactively sign up for to receive. And if you go to the contact us page, there's a form you can fill out. Annie mentioned the compliance notifications that we do. So every year there are 2 mailers that have to go out to every customer. One is the power content label, which has to go out before October every year. It's like a mini annual report, and I actually have a slide about it coming up, so I won't go into too much detail. But yeah, it has a nutritional label saying what our power mix is, and it has some general info, each year. And then there's the joint rate mailer, which is a price comparison between EBCE service and PG&E service. There is a template that we must use. So this is a marketing piece where we have no control over the look or feel. It's just, it's a large format postcard. Every energy provider has to do it the same way. But the good news is it's co-branded with PG&E, so we find that our customers really trust it as being legitimate information, and it always shows our rates being lower than PG&E for Bright Choice. So I find it to be very effective as a piece. That usually goes out in June, but with PG&E and some CCAs, we filed for an extension. The good news there is that if the extension is granted, which we expect, it'll reflect our new value proposition, which is proposed to be 5%. So it'll have a nice differential there. And then when we send out these mailers, if the customer has an email on file with PG&E, then we send it to them by email. It saves us money. Customers prefer it, and we have about maybe 70% of our customers have an email on file, so it's a lot, a lot of paper saved in that way. Then we have communications that we do around new programs or product changes, which we've discussed. If a city decides they want to opt their customers up to 100, we hit them with 2 notifications, and then we have programs like PIP, which we've discussed, and we do both outbound marketing and then also confirmation when they enroll, telling them that they're in the program. And then also we do some alerts, flex alerts, like if there's a risk of an outage. We have customers we've done analytics on our customer base. We know who's responsive to these sorts of things, and we have a mailing list or an emailing list letting people know they might want to curtail their energy during a certain time, or PSPS, which is public safety power shutoff. Those are, when PG&E preemptively is shutting power down, we can help notify those customers that that's going to happen. So we do that type of outreach. And the next slide, we do public relations. So We have a press release list. That's another one you can, sign up to receive the emails. We are quite proactive in planning our press releases. We have a weekly meeting where we talk about what's coming up and what stories we need to get ahead of, what content we need to get out in various channels. I'd say we send maybe one press release a month on average. So, if you sign up, it's not a ton of email, but really critical stuff. We do press events. The photo there you can see is from our ribbon cutting at the Haggerty Wind Farm out in Livermore. We have some exciting things coming up at EBCE that might involve a ribbon cutting, like a EV charging station, those sorts of things. The e-bike program, when that gets rolled out, we'll probably do an event. And then we apply for a number of awards, and then we let people know, in our newsletters and such that we've received them. We have a couple of announcements coming up that are embargoed, but good award news. And I think I have one more slide. No, I have a couple more slides. Yeah. So yeah, this is a slightly deeper dive. This is that power content label that I was discussing before. And you can see that table that's sort of in the middle of the slide is what we call the nutritional label, and it compares EBCE power mix to the state and our greenhouse gas emissions factor compared to the state greenhouse gas emissions factor. That little piece of information, that table, needs to be presented to every customer in that format once a year, but we can sort of fashion it into our choice of mailer. So you can see on the right, it's like a 6-panel tri-folded hard copy that we send to customers who don't have an email on file. And it serves as a mini annual report. You can see it has info about savings and our new power project and some programs that we're rolling out. It's required by the Energy Commission, and it's great. It's we get a lot of positive feedback. It's good sort of summary info about who we are and what we're doing. And then we send it by email to customers who have an email on file. And then the next slide is more about those local sponsorships. So one competitive advantage that we have over other suppliers is that we really know our constituents and how to engage with them. And so we try and get small here. We have a small grant amount, it's $2,500 maximum per grant. And we had, I think in the current fiscal year, $90,000 to issue in these small grants. We have a very simple application process. It's a Google form, probably takes 5 minutes to fill out. It's very short. It's really targeted at organizations that could use just a small amount of money to put on an event or do something that delights the people in their community. So you can see at the bottom, there's some examples like a youth sports team or a community orchestra, a couple of humane societies we've funded, some folks doing food security. And so 3 times a year, we review applications and we issue those grants. And then we also have some larger sponsorships that we do. The largest of those is the Oakland Roots professional soccer team. We're at all the games. We have a booth. It's a great way to interact. We do get a climate night feature every year where we have something that's, a theme that's oriented around the environment. Last year, we raffled off an e-bike. It was a lot of fun. And then we also do some sponsorships of other groups. I mentioned Habitat for Humanity. There are a few in there, but they did a 3-home project in San Leandro last year where we funded basically a Tesla Powerwall in each. And then they're going to break ground on an all-electric 10-home project in Hayward. And we're in discussion with them right now about what we might be able to fund, induction cooking, EV charging, those sorts of things. So I think that's all my slides, and I'm happy to field any questions if you have.
There you go, answers.
All right.
I do just want to highlight one thing that I think Dan downplayed a little. So his team is also responsible for what I think of as special customer communications. So when we have these special rate programs. So as an example, Dan worked with Kelly's team on PIP, which is the percentage of income payment plan program. There's an extra piece somewhere in there. And we were the only CCA within PG&E service territory to say, we want to do the outreach ourselves because it's a very targeted group of customers. There were about 6 customers in our service territory who would qualify and be eligible for what was a very, and is a very attractive rate program because it's a fixed fee. One fixed, well, there's 2 levels, but they're both just fixed fee. And so we were the only ones to say, we want to do the outreach and enrollment. We had space for about 700 customers. We were supposed to have about half of those enrolled by, I think, next month. We had 800 applications before May. And so what we've done is taken the 800, we're doing a random lottery, and then we have a wait list. So clearly we're doing something right in our outreach, and Dan's team was instrumental in creating a customer experience that was very seamless and easy to use. There was an email that went out, there was a business reply card that went out for those that are not digital natives, and it was done in 3 languages. And so it's just a great example of sort of how the team comes together and really gets the word out to our community for these critical programs to help people stay connected. And Lori will now come up to talk about programs marketing and talk more about how we're trying to create a delightful customer experience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lori Dines, and I am the Programs Marketing Manager here at PG&E. Oh, well, I did work at PG&E before, but that has nothing to do here. I'm the Programs Marketing Manager here at EBCE, and we'll find a better.
Right.
Absolutely. So we won't get confused at all.
It didn't even face me. It's so interesting that I just.
I was going to tell you a little bit about my background. I spent about 3 or 4 years at PG&E working on some energy programs. I have about 30 years of industry experience. I've worked on the agency side. I've worked on the side of major corporations. So it's kind of nice coming in here and working on products that are specifically for our customers. Now, I work with programs marketing with co-worker Katia Siebert. Spends about 50% of the time supporting these programs and 50% of the time supporting email marketing for us. So, okay, let me start with this first slide. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do, and then a little bit differently, I'm going to give you 3 examples of case studies. What makes it really I differ from some of the other groups here because we talk about marketing, we talk about advocacy. But the programs that I work on, we are looking for response. I'm trying to drive response by either via email, website, etc. So just to read off this slide here, local development programs, and that's the group I support. They EBCE reinvest a portion of our earnings back into the community to create local green jobs, local programs, and clean power projects. So our clean energy programs help customers save money and energy, make clean energy more accessible and more affordable, improve the health of our customers, and provide incentives to encourage customers to switch to clean energy. Now, specifically the programs marketing team, we want to create awareness of the different programs, energy programs going on, and we want to encourage participation. So what was missing off this slide is advocacy. So we do a lot of advocacy, customer education. We want to tell them about the programs and try to drive the response from there. Lead generation for the programs. We want to drive participation in our programs by offering incentives, and we develop multi-channel campaigns to identify the specific audience and try to incent them to act. And I work constantly to improve the customer experience. So we monitor the campaign performance and customer feedback. We try to understand our audience. The audience for induction cooktops are different than a commercial audience, different from a medical baseline. So each of our campaigns is specifically tailored to the audience, and specifically finding a set of medium for each audience. We want to present the programs and services in a relatable manner, something that's easy to understand, and most of all, we want to keep it simple. So the first program I'd like to talk about is Medical Baseline. Now, this is a program that's been set up. If you have a serious medical condition, you can have a discount on your electricity and your gas bills. So when I came into this, well, this is sort of a case study on the customer experience. So we had, in addition to the Medical Baseline program, we had a program where we gave away 50 units of a backup power source. So if you have medical conditions, a blackout could kill you. So part of this is to be able to talk to our people about being prepared for emergencies. So instead of doing 3 pages, we wanted to put it together, look at the old website, and we can go to the next slide. We want to do is simplify it. And in doing it, we created all 3 pages together. Minimize the number of link outs. So we wanted you to stay on the page and have full program information. And we want to position EBCE as a subject matter on this subject. So other changes, we changed to like positive images, updated the application from 3 pages to 1 page to really improve the customer experience. And if you check our website now, I won't force you to do it exactly right now, but we also added customer testimonials by people who participated in that program. We think that once you get in there and you see the others' experiences, it'll make it a little bit more realistic to you. And we can skip over this page. I just talked about the testimonials. Resilient Home Campaign is the next one I'm going to talk about. It's a really good program. What we want to do is, once again, for emergency preparedness, we want people to invest in a solar system and backup batteries. So if you look at this image here, we sort of, in our advertising, we wanted to highlight, this is what you're buying. This is what you're buying into the glowing battery system and battery storage. So the challenge here is applications to the Resilient Home program were very low, way below expectations. So what we wanted to do was create a multi-channel campaign to drive response. There's a lot of pages here. I'm going to show 1 or 2, and you guys can feel free to look at the samples of the creative in our results in following pages. So what we did is we ran ads across all kinds of media. I ran email, and email and direct mail tend to be our most responsive media. So I ran email, we did digital ads, local newspaper, social media, etc. So in short, between September 15th and December 31st, we got more than 239 applications, which was pretty amazing. We deployed 362,000 emails. We did digital ads in English, Spanish, and Chinese for a combined 3.8 million impressions. We ran print ads weekly in 9 publications over a 9 to 10 week period, with a combined circulation of 234,000 per week. And we also ran organic and social organic and paid social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So the following pages, and as I said, I'm going to skip through this in the interest of time. Following pages just show some of the results of this program.
Can you just speak to the email results, since that was a question earlier about how we're tracking the metrics?
Oh, sure. Okay. And we happen to be on the page right now.
Yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit about the email results. Now, we processed, or we sent out about 362,000 emails. Of those, 70% delivered, which is a pretty good rate. But the opens were at 65.76%. And that is just, it's just astronomical. You generally, when you see campaigns like this, if you have an open rate of 10 or 15%, you're probably doing okay. So what this tells me is we were able to successfully find the audience. We did a pretty good job of identifying our audience. When you look at unique opens at 44%, what that sort of tells me is at least half of the people opened it up twice. Somebody wanted to hear what we said and went through it a few more times. The clicks, we got 4,800 clicks. So based on these emails, about a little less than 2% actually read the email and went onto the web page to understand what we're talking about. Unique clicks show 0.5%. So once again, these people are going to the page more than once, at least 3 or 4 times, looking at our product offerings. So it's a big ask. It's one of the more expensive products. And if it was $2 or $3, I'd expect them to click it, resolve it immediately. So it's a big ask for our customer, and I believe the email did a fairly good job of alerting the customers to the product offering and carrying them on through the funnel to where they actually completed an application. Following this, you'll find a little bit of information on some of the other campaigns, the social media. Through all of them, we ran more than one creative concept. Different audience and different audience segments respond to different headlines, different messaging. So we tested everything, frequency, headlines, copy. But overall, I think it was a successful campaign. Next slide, please. This briefly shows our results from Meta, this Facebook. Next slide, please. These are some of our Twitter responses. Next slide, please. Our digital ads, we ran digital ads across 3 different media. We ran it in Spanish, English, and Chinese. Okay, if we can skip forward, please. And we also ran print, once again, in 3 different languages. So within that 3-month period or so, we got pretty good market saturation. Okay, next slide, please. Our third, let's see. Okay, thank you very much. My third and final case study is the induction lending program. And this sort of shows how we started off with a campaign concept, and after working with, getting feedback from our customers, how it started with 1 page and expanded to a suite of pages to support the initiative. So we started off with your basic page here, Get Cooking with Induction. So we took it, and this isn't necessarily in the order that they all came out, but we started with sort of a basic. What makes induction cooking? What's so special about it? How does it work? So we have diagrams and other things on the page that talk specifically about induction cooking. Next slide. From there came the idea for induction cooktop lending program, where you could sign up online and you can borrow a cooktop for originally 3 weeks, but now it's 2 weeks. And the kit would include an induction cooktop or a wok, a pan, operating instructions, recipes, and a carrying bag. Next slide, please. From there, we grew on to add another thing. This time we had a social media contest. We said, well, if you're testing it out, why not test it out and win a prize? Once again, to stand in front of the public, it's a social media contest. So everyone's encouraged to cook on induction or make a video, post it online and tag us, and you can win either a wok or an induction cooktop. And we're still working on that contest, coming out even better. So, okay, next slide, please. Online resources. From there, we decided to do an online resources page, and catch up here. And the online resources page includes tips for cooking on induction, easy to prepare recipes, how-to instructional videos on how to use your wok, downloadable induction resource kit. So once again, whether you borrow the kit through our program or just interested, you can come to our page and get full information. And from there, we're still going. All right. So then we created a calendar of events. There's a lot of things going on. These aren't necessarily all of our events, but local events and events of our partners, cooking lessons, demonstration workshops. You can go to a page that tells you all about that. And next slide, please. And now we have a page that will be coming on live probably right at the end of the day with rebates. Where do you go to get a rebate? So right now you can get $750 when you convert from your gas stove over to induction. So in addition to creating all these pages, we're working on the interfaces. So when you go to one page, you can easily navigate between all the others with the same thing. Next slide, please. Thank you. So any questions? Okay, well, thanks for your time. When you have a moment, have a look at the slides and see some of the good work we're doing here. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just do a quick summary wrap up to remind you of upcoming public meetings where we'll be discussing, what in my mind is one of our key initiatives, the brand and proposed new name. So those documents will be published on June 2nd for the executive committee meeting on June 7th. And then I think we are still finalizing the MRL, the Marketing Regulatory Legislative Committee meeting, but I believe we're looking towards June 16th. So we'll go there and then we'll be bringing, assuming that we get positive feedback and are able to move forward, we'll bring it to the board on June 21st. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, all the staff that presented and all the staff that put together the presentation. Definitely enlightening. I'm ready for the battery because I'm an early adopter of solar, but I don't have a battery. So I'm waiting for 2.0 of the program. Okay. Are there any other questions by any members related to that? We already asked, but I'll just, before we close out this item one more time. Seeing none. Okay, we'll close that out. Thank you again. And now we're moved to item 5, board member and staff announcements, including requests to place anything on the agenda or a future agenda. Do we have anything from any board members or staff? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming in.
you, everyone.